This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. It's your Weekly Blitz with Chris, keeping you in the game.
Are you ready to supercharge your auto repair business? This is Coach Chris Cotton from AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching. The Weekly Blitz is where industry expertise and business innovation collide, revving your engines for the week ahead. Every episode has game-changing insights, up-to-the-minute industry updates, and practical tips to shift your business into high gear. We're talking about stuff you didn't even know you didn't know, folks. This episode is brought to you by Shop Marketing Pros, the experts in marketing for top-tier auto repair shops. If you're running a successful shop and want to take it to the next level, Shop Marketing Pros is without a doubt your best option. From websites and SEO to social media and digital ads, Shop Marketing Pros help shop owners like you fill your bays, grow your revenue, and build the life you've been working for. If you're ready to take the guesswork out of your marketing, visit shopmarketingpros.com/Chris to get a free digital marketing inspection and start building the shop of your dreams today. Hey, everybody, welcome. This is going to be episode number 202, which is, gosh, I still can't believe we've even gone over the 200 mark, but we have. So that's where we're at. One of the things I wanted to go over, the main thing I wanted to go over today is just, since we did buy a shop, we're getting a lot of shop owner magazines that I either didn't subscribe to or weren't really paying attention to a lot, or did it digitally and didn't do it with a physical magazine. One is the Shop Owner Mag. The other is Ratchet Wrench. There was an article in Wrench. This is January edition. I thought it was really interesting when I read this article. It talks about how does your shop compare in annual revenue, gross and net profits. And I wanted to talk about kind of where the industry was 15 years ago versus where the industry is now. It's very interesting to me when I look at these numbers. It has like a short 2-paragraph introduction and then the chart. So if you want to go in there, it's on page 19 of that Ratchet Wrench magazine. If you got that magazine and flipped through it and didn't stop and look at this, it's something that I think you should look at. Everybody should know kind of where they stack up, I think, industry-wise. Like, I wouldn't want you to lose sleep over it. But when I look at some of these numbers, 15 years ago, if you had a shop that did over $1.5 million a year, I think you were probably in the top 3% of shops all across the country as far as independent repair shops. If you had a shop that was $1 million plus, you're probably in the top 10 to 15%. It's just amazing to see the percentage of these shops in here now. Actually, instead of me just flapping my gums about it, let's just go ahead and get into it. So the article is, how does your shop compare in annual revenue, gross and net profits? And it says, measuring your annual revenue and different profit margins can help you make financial decisions. It was penned by somebody, name was Ivan Rioja Scott. So give them a little bit of credit in there for this. And the 2 paragraphs says this. It says, within the tracking KPI section of the 2024 Ratchet Wrench Industry Survey Report, shop owners were asked about their annual revenue, overall gross profit margin, and overall net profit margin. And then it says, understanding the overall financials of shops allows shop owners to make data-driven decisions. And I think that's absolutely correct. I just taught at AutoWares in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it still shocks me today the amount of shop owners that don't have a clue what's going on in their business. And I started talking about KPIs, and there was a older gentleman in there that kind of pulled me inside. He said, I'm sorry, but I don't know what a KPI is. And I'm like, first of all, that's on me for assuming that everybody knows. And a KPI is a key performance indicator. What are the things that you track? How do you measure the success, or what's the report card for success that you have in your shop? And if you don't track any KPIs, then it's like a ship with no rudder, right? Like you're just out there bouncing around in the wind and just moving along wherever the world takes you. And so we talked about that some more, and both those classes were sold out. 60 people. I'm going to say less than 8 to 10 people raised their hand when they said they were tracking KPIs. Now, I don't know if they were just, a little shy and not wanting to raise their hands, or if they really didn't track them, but it really didn't seem like it. One of the things we also did for this gentleman was, he's in Michigan. His labor rate was like right at $100 an hour or less, and he was struggling to make money. So we went through and, did the math backward to figure out what his labor rate should be. And he was under by about $30 what he should have been charging. All of this is math based. If you don't know what your labor margin should be or your labor rate should be, shoot me a text, send me an email. We can get it done, make a comment in one of the posts. But to continue on with what we're going here. And so it said, based on insight from the 2024 Ratchet Wrench Industry Survey Report, over 50% of surveyed shops have an annual revenue of over $1 million. And remember, when I said 15 years ago or so, the best data we had was 20% of shops in the United States were doing over $1 million a year. Now that's 50%. And at the same time, over 50% of shops reported a gross profit margin of over 50%. And I think that's great. Gross profit margin has been coming up, but also when I go through these numbers, I'm going to be shocked just a little bit. You may be shocked by the numbers that we have in here. And so again, how do we measure ourselves? It's funny. I think it's Chevy Chase movie Caddyshack. Somebody asked Chevy Chase, what his handicap was. And he goes I don't know. And somebody goes, well, how do you measure yourself with other golfers? And he goes, by height, which I think is great. But, if you're talking to other shop owners, I think you should be armed with some numbers. And then even without talking to other shop owners, you need to know these numbers for yourself. Again, how are you driving your business? And it just shows me that some of us aren't driving our business. Our business is driving us. In the first box, we have annual revenue. So 9% of the shops that were surveyed, and I don't know how many shops that was, had revenue less than $250,000 a year. Then if you go up to $250,000 to $499,000, you have 9% again in that range. And I will tell you, if your shop in this $250,000 to $490,000 a year range or $500,000 a year, we're working on some case studies now with some shops that we've worked with. We've been able to take shops that were doing $300,000 a year. Now, 5 years later, they're going to break $3 million. We've upgraded staffs. Our shops are bigger and things like that. But these are shop owners that wanted to grow. And we're at a point to where I'm a great A-Tech or Master Tech. And I either want to go back and turn wrenches so I don't have to worry about this, or I have to propel my business forward. That's a good thing. If you're in that range, there are some things you can do to really move your business forward. So the next breakdown is from $500,000 to $750,000, and the percentage goes down. That's 8. And that number used to be double, triple that several years ago. And so now we get into this $750,000 to $1 million. 11% of the shops surveyed were in that category. And here's the biggest category now. By far, at almost 40% of shops surveyed are in the $1 million to $2.5 million. Now, I know that's a way bigger range, but that used to be unheard of. If you would have taken all the $1 million to $2.5 million shops 15 years ago, I think that whole number would have been maybe 15%. So it's more than doubled. Here's another one. And we have lots of shops that are in this category. But over $2.5 million, almost 20% of shops surveyed are doing over $2.5 million of revenue, which is a great, great number. But I think it speaks to our industry. And this is maybe why we have so much consolidation going on and so many big players buying out others, is they've seen the growth and they know it's only going to get better or get bigger and keep growing. Here's the one that always flummoxes me. 5% of people don't have a clue. They're just unknown. We don't know what our revenue is. I guess it's okay. Very interesting, I think. So the next box that they have in here is the overall gross profit margin. 8% of people that replied make less than 30% gross profit margin. And I will tell you, if you're a shop owner and you're trying to eke out a living and your gross profit is less than 30%, that is going to be awfully tough unless your overhead is super, super low. The next couple categories, 12% of people replied that they were in the 30 to 39% gross profit margin range. Not as hard, but things are getting better, but not too much better. Then we've got 14% that are in the 40 to 49% range, and that's pretty good. But now the biggest category out of all these was 34% of people that replied were in the 50 to 59% range. I think that's great. Hopefully those people are still trying to move the needle a little bit and try to get into a number that starts with a 6. But if you're sitting there at a 30 to 39% gross profit margin, 40 to 49% gross profit margin, and you're thinking that you're taking advantage of people by charging that much and whatever else, you are in the minority of the industry. Almost a full 35% of the people surveyed in this are making 59% gross profit. I think that's great. And so if we look at it, the next category up is 22% of the people that replied are making a 60% or more gross profit. And of course, that's always the goal, right? Like 65% or better, 60% or better. If it has a 6 in front of it, that gives you a lot of room to control your operating costs and be able to affect change in your business, cash your checks, make sure the employees are taken care of, make sure your family's taken care of, make sure your customers are taken care of. And again, here's the number that drives me bonkers out of this. 10% of the people don't track it at all. Or these could be some of the peoples with tinfoil hats on. I don't know. They just decided to not reply to this because they thought somebody was going to get some of their secret sauce or something. But again, it's one of those things that you should be tracking. And then 10% out of this category is not. And then so the last one, this is a really short report. I liked it. So overall net, this article is taking into account annual revenue, gross profit margin, and then annual net profit. Very first line, I don't generate a net profit 4%. So I don't know if that means they're just not profitable or exactly how that came about. But for you to be in the 4% that doesn't generate a net profit, that's not okay. And so it's not okay to have owner checks in the top drawer that aren't getting cashed. Here we've got 4% of shops operated at a 1 to 4% net. And I guess if you're trying to show that because you're trying to get one over on the IRS, okay, whatever. I can argue 10 ways against that, especially if you're looking at selling anytime soon. You should not be down in that 1 to 4% range. Some of you are asking, Chris, what do you recommend? 25% or better. At that, you have enough money to write a check for the tax man at the end of the year and everything else. 9% of shops had 5 to 9% net profit margin. 20% of shops had 10 to 15% profit margin, and dips down a little bit. 19% of shops have 15 to 19%. And at there, you guys are so close. You shop owners are so close, it's not even funny. If you're in that 20% net, you make a couple tweaks on productivity and make a couple of tweaks here and there, and you can get that other 5% pretty quickly. But there was a tie for the two biggest categories. 22% said they made 20% or more, which if you look at the other numbers, they should, because you also had a category in overall gross profit margin where 22% of the people that replied said they make 60% or more. Gross profit 60%, net's 20%. I think that's good. And I think that's way better than what it used to be 5, 10, 15 years ago. We are getting better as an industry about charging correctly, having the right value system, building a great value for what we do, and making sure we have stand-up facilities. Congratulations to that 22% that's 20% or more, and the 19% that's at 15 to 19 and working hard. Here's the thing again. So 22% of the people that replied to this say they do not track it, what their net profit margin is. And so again, I don't know if they just decided that they didn't want to participate, didn't want to share the secret sauce or whatever, and we're trying to keep it out of there. But I think it's a very interesting survey. Anytime you can get numbers like this and look at information, I think it's great to kind of let you know where you stack up. One of the things I would do is I would use this report as a coach and an accountability partner to kind of beat you on the head a little bit. If your goal is to get over $1 million and you're in that 5 to 750,000 a year, 750,000 a year, you can make some changes too to get up there. Like there are changes that can get you from one level in here to the next. And all you have to do is ask, or all you have to do is listen to a podcast. There's so much free information on the internet to help you with all this right now. It's insane. I want you to think about your numbers. I want you to think about KPIs, key performance indicators. And if you're not tracking them, I want you to be like, why aren't I tracking them? And the one thing I would tell you is if we track and measure anything, we can fix it. If you have one thing in your shop, labor hours per repair order, if you track it by technician, track it by everything else. If you make that a focus, you can fix that. If you average repair order is an issue, that's also tied to labor hours per repair order. That's another KPI to track. Closing ratio, average estimate, effective labor rate. Like you can only have 5 KPIs and you can use those 5 KPIs to completely change your business. As we get started in 2025, I'm telling you, learn the numbers, go to class, do a podcast. There's tons of training out there that you can do. You can make your shop better, but you got to track it. You got to measure it. You got to know the numbers, and you got to know what you don't know. Okay. I'd like to give another shout out to our sponsor, Shop Marketing Pros. They're the only marketing company I recommend, and they handle all of the marketing for my own shop as well. If you're serious about growth, you need strategies that actually work. Better websites, higher Google rankings, ads that bring real customers through your doors. I want you to go visit shopmarketingpros.com/Chris to partner with a team that understands your business, because every great shop deserves marketing that's just as great. Thanks for tuning in to the Weekly Blitz. Remember, it's time to rise, grind, and keep your mindset positive. Until next time, this is Coach Chris Cotton signing off. Have a great day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Weekly Blitz with Coach Chris Cotton on the AftermarketRadioNetwork.com. Follow Chris on your favorite podcast listening app. Let him know what you'd like him to cover. His email is in the show notes. Chris is all for advancing the aftermarket.